Sometimes a soundbar is just a soundbar. Sometimes it's more than just a soundbar, it's a good soundbar. Hi, I'm Vanessa from Rtings.com, where today we're reviewing the Samsung HW-Q930D, a good soundbar. This offering from Samsung comes equipped with a 9.14 configuration spread across its bar, satellites, and a subwoofer. As one of Samsung's premium Q series of soundbars, it also comes with exclusive features for owners of compatible Samsung TVs, like Q Symphony. Of course, that's all with a premium price tag. Even if it's a good soundbar, is it worth it? Or can you do even better? Let's find out. This soundbar is the whole kit minus the caboodle. There's the soundbar, two rather small satellites, and a sub. Each component feels well built, from hard plastic, and has a sharp-edged style to it. All in all, it won't take up too much space, but the soundbar isn't short enough to fit between the legs of a 65-inch TV. It's easy to set up thanks to the wireless connectivity between the sub, satellites, and the bar. Gone are the days of threading cables under rugs and couches. Now you'll just need to plug them all in, and voila, the satellites and sub should connect automatically. Even if they don't, you can simply hold the pairing button on the back to reconnect them. Regardless of how you connect the soundbar to the TV, using either its HDMI eARC or optical ports, it has a great latency performance. If you end up with a bit of lip sync mismatch, or feel the higher latency over an optical connection, you can always adjust the delay in the app to synchronize it better. The Q930D also supports up to 4K at 60 Hz pass-through and has low latency if you want to use the soundbar as a hub between your console and your TV instead. Sure, the refresh rate is a bit lower than what you maybe want, especially if your TV supports 4K at 120 Hz. And no, it doesn't support HDMI 2.1 pass-through, but for more casual gamers, this will be just fine. You can, however, pass through signals with FreeSync and G-Sync enabled to reduce screen tearing. While the quality of life considerations are nice, obviously sound matters too. The previous version, the HW-Q930C, offered a nice bassy default sound. The Q930D adjusts that, reducing the amount of oomph in the low end in favor of a more balanced sound profile out of the box. With the standard setting, it adds some nice emphasis to the mids for clearer dialogue, as well as vocals and lead instruments in your tunes. We didn't need to adjust the sound settings for the standard preset mode, but if you do find the low end lacking, you can easily adjust it using the 7-band EQ. Plus, with its good soundstage, the sounds you hear align with the action occurring on the screen. Side-to-side tracking is easy to follow, and instruments and voices are separated cleanly. That said, the delivery is more focused if you're in front and center in relation to the bar. Since its soundstage is perceptually the same as the width of the bar, as you move towards the edges, the sound gets more diffused. What you won't find lacking is its surround 5.1 performance. Despite their small size, the satellites envelop you with a well-balanced experience. The sub, much larger in comparison, completes the immersion by adding great low-end rumble to the mix. Meanwhile, the center channel reproduces speech well, so you won't miss a line. For object-based formats like Dolby Atmos, subjectively, the verticality is solid. There are 4 up-firing drivers in the configuration, 2 in the soundbar, and 1 in each satellite, plus some phantom channels to round out the experience. Though it isn't as atmospheric as it is on some other systems, and it sometimes leans into an artificial sound. Obviously, it is artificial. An airplane isn't really flying directly above you in your living room unless you live in a flight path. But the sound reproduction of that object overhead feels tighter, more cramped, and less natural. Plus, the sounds coming from behind you aren't as focused as those coming from the front. That said, it's still going to offer you a better Atmos experience than a standalone bar or a cheaper setup. In terms of features, this is a pretty packed bar. Any feature you could want to enhance or adjust the sound quality, it likely has, such as room correction, a graphic EQ, and voice enhancement. Plus, for folks with compatible Samsung TVs, you can use the Q Symphony feature. This essentially uses your TV speakers as additional audio channels that work in sync with the sound system. We didn't notice much of a difference when we tested for it, but your mileage may vary. Connections-wise, there's an additional perk called Tap Sound that you can use if you have a Samsung phone. Basically, just boop your phone to the soundbar and it'll mirror your audio. Not to play it in reverse, but just to transfer it. If you don't have a Samsung phone, you can just use regular Bluetooth to connect and play your tunes. The soundbar also supports Apple AirPlay, Spotify Connect, and in some regions, Chromecast, which is a little upgrade from the Q930C that didn't offer Chromecast support in any region. There's also a feature-loaded remote that means you can cover the majority of your settings without having to download an additional app or use your phone. That said, the SmartThings app does grant you access to more in-depth settings, such as adjusting the volume of each individual speaker. But there are also buttons on the top for basic volume control and to mute the mic, so it doesn't accidentally awaken the built-in Alexa voice assistant. Regardless of how you command the bar, all of your inputs will appear, albeit letter by letter, in the small display on the right of the bar. So, should you buy this soundbar? Yes, it's a well-rounded bar with excellent features, a simplified setup experience, and of course, great overall sound. For gamers, it does lack a few pass-through capabilities that would really make it shine. But if you don't really do console gaming to begin with, this is a solid choice with few downsides. Even if you don't immediately love its out-of-the-box sound, there are plenty of ways to adjust it, whether it's the room correction feature, graphic EQ, or even playing around with the levels on each of the speakers in the app. But with all that said, let's circle back to the earlier question. Can you do better? Technically, yes. The Samsung Q930D is a step below the Samsung Q990D. The difference in price is about $1,000. But what does that $1,000 get you? HDMI 2.1 support, 4K at 120Hz pass-through, and 2 extra drivers for an 11.14 configuration. Of course, it isn't just the additional support and drivers. The Q990D does have a better Atmos performance, and for that atmospheric and immersive experience, it can get louder to really fill a larger room. But otherwise, it shares the same feature set and balanced sound as the Q930D. It would also behoove us to mention the Q800D. No, this isn't some Samsung shill fest, it's that the Q930D is a solid bar sitting in a solid lineup where there's something for a variety of budgets and setups. The Q800D is very similar to the other two, but its kit only includes the bar and a sub. Instead of satellites, it opts for side-firing speakers, making it better suited to smaller spaces where you might not have the room for additional speakers. It performs really well, offering a similarly balanced sound profile and immersive experience, even without the satellites. Plus, it usually comes in under $1,000, and it has all the same features as the Q930D, minus G-Sync and FreeSync support. Well, that's it for our review of the Samsung HW-Q930D. If you're interested in learning more about this soundbar, head over to our written review following the link in the description below. Until then, I'm Vanessa from Rtings.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs. Goodbye! Though it isn't as atmospheric as it is on I ran out of steam, huh? Whoa! I just dropped my water bottle. I'm good.